In episode 138,
like there was a time where I only believed it was a fetish and I would like actually try to like introduce it that way. But then like I would incorporate it or try to incorporate it into like the bedroom and it wouldn't ever really work because I didn't even really like sex in the first place. That is like the essence of fetishization. Sexual energy is like the easiest way to make that magic happen, basically to charge this thing that exists outside yourself that you're trying to reach a certain outcome from. Everybody under the trans umbrella has gender euphoria. That's why we do it. Like, right. So whose gender euphoria is like better than another's? Like that's such like a dick fight, you know? Like, what does it even matter? The difference is like what we do with that energy.
Welcome to the CrossYaas Podcast, the podcast that still says yes to everything related to cross-dressing, sexuality, and gender. I'm Giselle Mirasol, the cross-dressing OG gangsta and transgender host who will be your guide into this stupidly complex but fun and wild world of cross-dressing, sexuality, and gender. Support me by going to CrossYaasPodcast.com and click on either our Patreon links to enjoy bonus extra content, or if you have commitment issues like some of you, send me one-time monetary tips or donations by clicking on the Ko-Fi donation button that can also be found there on the sidebars. Also available on the website is the link to our CrossYaas confidential Discord where you can chat with me, Arris, and other wonderful CrossYaas listeners for necessary added support. And finally, if you enjoyed Arris' story and have your own personal story that's cross-dressing, sexuality, and or gender-related, but you're a chicken. Not like an actual literal chicken, but you're a chicken as in too frightened to come out because you're thinking, Giselle, no one wants to hear what I have to say. Do they? Well, bok bok. Duh. You know me, the OG gangsta cross-dressing fool. The answer is obviously aloud. Frickin' yes! People do want to hear your story. I promise you they do. So let's get you talking about yourself. Hit me up, Giselle, at CrossYaasPodcast.com. DM me on Instagram at CrossYaasPodcast, or chat me up on Discord. Rochi_Mochi pound 7325. I cannot wait to hear from you, you chicken head. Just kidding. Back with part 2 and the conclusion of my Curi YAAS convo with Arris. Last week, we learned plenty about Arris, including that they had 2 bouts with cancer. The first time around caused the loss of a leg, while the second stint with cancer caused Arris to have a stoma bag that stuck out of Arris' stomach. So Arris suffered, and it had a detrimental impact on Arris, especially their gender, so much so that they chose not to deal with it until now. But luckily, Arris is cancer-free today, and in this episode, you'll hear Arris talk about their fetishes, dysphoria versus euphoria, and even their eBay store, where you can find all sorts of stuff that Arris will go into more detail in this episode. Arris' store, Inconstant Avatar, can be found by going to the website inconstantavatar.com. That is spelled INCONSTANTAVATAR. Basically spelled how it sounds, Inconstant Avatar. Which, when you go there, it will redirect you to Arris' eBay store, called Inconstant Avatar. I'll have the link available on the CrossYaasPodcast.com website, as well as in the show notes for this episode. But as a bonus treat, if you stay tuned, Arris tells you a special code to put in when you shop on the Inconstant Avatar store. I'll also provide the code at the end of the episode for those of you who miss it, but Arris in this episode was a delightful guest. A real gangsta, if you ask me. And without further ado, I'll just get into the episode so you can understand why I say that. But here it is, episode 138, and the conclusion of my Curi YAAS conversation with Arris. Enjoy. Earlier, you did talk about your attraction or your sexuality, and it was, what was it again?
Ghost, or the guys from Cocoon. I don't know which part. Yeah, or not non-binary.
Demisexual.
Oh, demisexual. Yeah. If I'm,
what does that mean?
Even using it right, it's where like you basically aren't interested in sex until you can have a like mental connection with somebody. But even then, I don't know if I'm interested in sex. So,
okay, are you asexual then?
Maybe.
Somewhat, if you say.
Maybe.
Okay.
It's not what I go for. I don't. I have like sexual fantasies, but they're pretty abstract. I don't. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not big on like bodies, and like I think I know like people's bodies are gross, and I kind of take the Tibetan Buddhist line on that I like I self-contain. I'm not a person that really likes to be touched, and I don't like to intrude on others with touch. I definitely have been in situations where, you know, you become attracted to another person and you try to meld bodies with them. But I truly do think that's because we are recognizing, again, like the same soul in another person and literally trying to like merge those souls. But as far as just like animal carnage, I'm going to go out to the jungle and find something to fucking kill, like that's never been me.
Gotcha. I mean, I only asked that question also because I always wonder, you know, as you were younger, was this ever a sexual kink or fetish for you, right? Which is the question that proposed to guests.
So that's a very loaded question. So
obviously,
yeah. So okay. So first of all, let's the short answer here. Let me give like a basic thing, which is that like I have never fetishized like trans people, like, you know, like or any person, like, you know, to be like that type of I'm looking for this or that. Like and I've also never, to the best of my knowledge, have never fetishized like you know, just the act of quote unquote cross-dressing, the act of like putting on the other gender's clothing or whatever. Like it has to be a little more than that for me. Yeah, and I have to also like want to be turned on by something. I don't think I'm capable of just like sporadically being turned on by something. So that said, so my sexual proclivities, I would say, do involve or have involved, I guess, certain aspects of the tools used for gender or for identity. Like I know this is really hard to explain. Like I could just tell you like what sexually like turns me on, but then it's also maybe
do that then. That's fine.
Oh, gee. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how much I'll want in the final cut. I would like to talk about like what fetishism is, because it's the idea of it goes like a lot deeper than the surface, I think. As far as what turns me on, it's very abstract. Like I'm really big into God. This is just gonna sound fucked up. Like this is probably just getting.
It's not. There's no such thing.
Okay. Well, you know,
this is the CrossYaas podcast. We don't say
right.
We don't say yes to you know, weirdness. We're all fucking weird. But gotcha. Yeah, what is it?
Well, so a lot of times my like sexual fantasies are just in my head. As
they should be.
Yeah. When they move out of my head, they typically come in the form of changing the space around me and creating like an aesthetic. Yeah, and this is why it's weird, because it's okay. Well, first of all, I don't actually know where I'm at right now with this, because now that I have such access to it, even this is tampered off. Like even like my regular like sexuality is just kind of like diminished, because I think it's just like, you know, fed properly now. But when it's active, I'll basically set up a display of, if I take it outside of my head, and a display that just basically exudes femininity. The idea is just being like surrounded in femininity and like surrounded in feminine effects. I don't, yeah, it's so void of like, again, body and people. That's why I don't know how people take it, because I'm literally like building art installations out of consumer goods, and then that's what I get off on. Like, yeah, and then it like loses its power. Like it's after that. So yeah, I have no idea if I explained that well at all.
So you need a almost a feminine milieu right around you, but
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's me. I don't know. I don't know. Well, but then again, that extends to, and I'll say it probably 30 more times before it's over, the collective soul, and like, do the things around us that don't have a biological component also have souls, and are we just like meshing souls with those things and like taking them in as part of our like overall existence that we call life, and so so like, okay, so and I feel a little awkward, like, because I don't even know if I explained it well. It's really just like a submergence in the feminine. So, but there's basically like two kinds of fetishism, and this is like where I think that like the rubber kind of meets the road. Yeah, do you want me to get into this? Like, I guess you probably do, right? Okay, so
always.
Okay, all right. So
I love when people are interested in what they would talk about. Like, yes, why would I not want to be interested in what you're talking about? Right. Yes.
Okay. So there's a lot of like gatekeepers in the trans community, who, in regards to
millions of them. Yes.
And fetishization is like a big like line in the sand for a lot of them. That'll try to like put you outside the trans umbrella if you are a crossdresser because you fetishize it or whatever in their mind. It's a like stigma, I think, that's attached. So that said, that is like a superficial way of looking at fetishization, which is basically to say that, you know, a person is deriving sexual pleasure from like an object or an idea. So the thing is, every fucking person in the world who has any kind of sexuality at all is guilty of that. Like, they might not fetishize clothing, or might, you know, but they'll fetishize something. And it's like, if you have a staunch like Christian, never had sex before dude who like marries his young Christian bride, and then they are going to he's going to carry over the threshold, and they're going to like have sex on their honeymoon. At that point, he is fetishizing her. That is what you have to do to have sex. Like, that's what you have to do to like put sexual energy on anything. So, like I said, everything for me is kind of around aesthetic, just as it is for them, really just as it is for anybody. But it's just like, most people apply the aesthetic to a person. I just kind of take the aesthetic as an aesthetic. So even if I'm not like thinking about body, I can like build an aesthetic, and I'm still I still would, I guess, be like fetishizing femininity, like feminine elements. But it's like, yeah, it's like a fetishization of femininity in general, which is what so many fucking people do day to day. And it's like very like spiritual too. It's not just like overtly sexual, which I think that sex is spiritual, sexuality is spiritual. But, you know, it's still something I have to like put my head there. Like, I have to like willingly be wanting to submerge into the aesthetic, and like willingly wanting to like find some sort of like deeper arousal or you know, an energy or spirituality or whatever from it. So Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this right now. As things have changed, and I, am like taking less pictures and like wearing like less wardrobe, doing less wardrobe changes. Like when it's just becoming a more regular thing that is not as detached from me, not as foreign from me, then like I said, the like just general sexuality like seems to decrease. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I really think that it depends on access. Like the amount we fetishize things depends on our access to them, and we don't fetishize them, or I don't fetishize them as much in like the day to day. So when I didn't have the kind of confidence and hence access that I do now, like there was a time where I only believed it was a fetish, and I would like actually try to like introduce it that way. But then like I would incorporate it or try to incorporate it into like the bedroom, and it wouldn't ever really work because like I didn't even really like sex in the first place. And I've like had relationships wrecked that way. And that's like things that would like push me back in the closet because they would, I guess, realize that it was not so much a fetish and kind of more of an identity. So I don't know to what point I answered the first part of that. I don't know if I look like a total asshole now after saying what I've said, or if this makes sense to people. But yeah,
I'll make sense of it.
Okay.
I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying.
Okay. So everyone's going to fetishize something. I don't know if I definitely don't fetishize even the things that I do fetishize, which are maybe adjacent to dressing up, but then again, it's just femininity. So it's like, what's the difference in fetishizing like a row of wigs hanging on the wall versus fetishizing like some actress that died in the 50s but was in her prime in some movie? It's like,
right.
All of that, I think, just gets way overblown because everybody does it to something. So okay, I'm just trying to like clear out that there's that superficial idea of fetishization that we've reached, but there's a more like archaic idea of where fetishization started, and I full on subscribe to that. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like the whole
what is that?
Yeah, like the term fetish comes from the idea of like honoring or like worshiping a spirit that like takes form in a like inanimate object. So basically like the definition hasn't really changed, but we've basically like started applying our own subjective morality to it and making it something like different, or trying to make it something different than it was. But like, so like, are you familiar with like sigil magic?
Nope.
Okay.
Keep explaining. I'm just learning.
Okay. So sigil magic is like the purest form of fetishization, because basically the way it works is you take like an idea or something that you want to accomplish or bring into your life, and you make a symbol to represent it. And there's like a way to get to that point, which I'd be happy to explain if you really wanted to know. But you turn this thing into a symbol so that you can basically sit it outside of yourself and kind of let it function as its own simulation that then runs in your own life, basically. So once you make these sigils, you have to charge them with energy for them to work. And of course, this is all, I don't expect you or anybody to believe this is like some ironclad truth, but if you follow magic and believe in magic to some degree, this is like a big common thing. So when you make the sigil, you have to charge it with energy for it to work. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but the most simplest way is to fetishize it and basically to jack off to it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, it's the most common way. So that is like the essence of fetishization. Sexual energy is like the easiest way to make that magic happen, basically, to charge this thing that exists outside yourself that you're trying to reach a certain outcome from. So the thing is, like, outside of a sigil, all symbols, every piece of art, literature, whatever we create outside of ourselves is actually a kind of sigil for something else. We have like a technical term for sigil if you want to sit there and like make like a quick thing to handle this a concern that you have or whatever. But if you do write a book, for example, then as you're writing the book, you'll find certain things that you're writing will come to pass in your actual existence, because you're, again, creating this other life outside of your own life, but it actually, you as the creator will affect your own life. Same thing with like making art, whatever. Like if you, yeah, whatever we create, that is what we will bring into our life. And essentially creation itself is a form of fetishization. So putting a pin in it there, you know, emotion will come through creation. So the things that we create, such as art, literature, we don't have to charge those things like we would a sigil by jacking off to them or yelling at them or whatever. It comes through just in our own like emotional processes that make those things happen over a longer term, because you don't just like paint a picture real quick normally or write a book real quick. So you're literally like pouring yourself into these things and giving them that emotional power. But that emotional power, that energy has to be there for them to like have any effect on our lives. So looking at gender euphoria, that's one thing that no matter who wants to play gatekeeper and say that you can't be this because you feel this way and whatever, everybody under the trans umbrella has gender euphoria. That's why we do it. Like,
right.
So whose gender euphoria is like better than another's? Like that's such like a dick fight, you know, like what does it even matter? The difference is like what we do with that energy. So like being able to like realize one's identity is feeling that gender euphoria. That is basically imbuing yourself with magic, with an energy. So you can keep that energy in yourself, or you can just go ahead and spank off and drive that energy right back out of yourself. And I think that's what makes the difference for a lot of gatekeepers, but they just won't say it or won't put it that way. Because yeah, you can, when you realize your identity, when you like are looking, well, even if it's not even related, if it's any kind of fetishization, honestly, of like the archaic sense, like you can take that power that you're putting in yourself by creating an emotional reaction from seeing yourself as the way you want to be seen, or alternatively, if we're speaking in terms of the more like superficial fetishism, you know, charging yourself up by what you're taking into your eyes that like gives you that feeling, that gives you that type of euphoria. So once you have that euphoria in you, you then have that choice to either go ahead and just expel it all right there into a Kleenex or whatever, or you can just move about your day and expel it 90 million other ways. And I think that the people that get it applied, like there's that idea, but from the gatekeepers, that someone is fetishizing I don't know what the particular the complaint is, that people are like fetishizing trans people, or they're fetishizing the wearing of clothes that are designated for the other sex or what. But either way, just like popping out that energy, it's the difference of just popping out that energy like in the moment versus holding on to that energy and like progressing through your day. And if you hold on to the energy, then that energy will like deplete over the course of the day, and then there's like no room for any kind of fetishization at the end anyway. But I really think that's the ultimate line that garners the complaints from gatekeepers, but they only see it like one way.
That was a really good answer there, Arris.
Okay, well, thanks. I hope it was clear. Sometimes I feel like I'm just rambling and it's all in my head better than coming off my tongue.
Don't worry, we'll make it sound really good, really good. Wow, that was a lot of questions on the fetish thing.
Yeah, but, I don't want to be associated with fetishism, but I think people miss what fetishism is and like where it came from and how it actually works in our lives.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was a good answer. So,
okay.
Don't know what else. So, yeah. Hey, CrossYaas listener. Hope you're enjoying today's guest. But I just wanted to take a break and tell you about the Patreon. Now, what is a Patreon? Well, I'm glad you asked, even though you didn't really ask, did you? But I'm going to tell you anyways. Patreon is a service which allows me and the podcast to offer bonus content and extras for the CrossYaas listener. And by going to the CrossYaas Podcast.com website, you can see what we have to offer, which includes a digital print from my wife Kirsten, bonus episodes, and a monthly empowerment cover song from my wife Kirsten. There's also other stuff, but pricing varies, but all proceeds go to running and maintaining the cost of this podcast. So if you want to help this podcast continue running, help, send money. We need it. Just kidding. But seriously, consider joining the CrossYaas Podcast Patreon today by going to the CrossYaasPodcast.com website and clicking on the Patreon links on the sidebar. Thanks, and back to the podcast. So clearly you've had tons of euphoria, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Still? Yeah. But have you had dysphoria then? I mean, I don't know if you talked a little bit about.
Yeah, no, that's I never really had dysphoria. Well, I guess I've had some dysphoria in the past because I've made a few body changes in the past. Basically laser. I've got laser on my upper torso, but like I'm Italian in descent, so I mean, yeah, it didn't bother me really. I was just like, I know that it's just, I just kind of prefer it to be a certain way. So I'd rather have less hair than more. So I don't know. So I don't know if that's dysphoria or not, but after recovering from the cancer, I definitely went through dysphoria as part of like my calibration. Like when I was like, oh, I'm getting back to myself and going overboard with it, I would say, because it was out of control. The fact that I did have access and, was like, wait, what are we talking about? I'm totally lost again. I'm sorry.
Euphoria versus dysphoria.
Yeah. So I've not experienced a lot of dysphoria in the past. I have experienced enough to have certain bodily changes done, but nothing more than laser on the top half of my torso. More of a preference than anything. I probably would have been okay either way, but it does help to not have to barely shave at all. I did get dysphoria or dysphoric again maybe a month or two ago, like all part of recalibrating, because like I said earlier, once I started to find my identity again after being laid out from the cancer, I was experiencing gender euphoria like boundlessly, but then it turned when I was still unsure of like where I was going with it here, because again I was like, do I want to transition completely? Like I really reached the understanding of how much of it really truly is tied to identity for me. And oh my god, my train of thought. Okay, so then
you're such a writer. You're such a writer. Like you have so many things you want to write down and say, and I'm just like, get it there, girl. Like I'm cheering you on.
Okay. Thank you.
Keep going.
Yeah. So basically I had a period where when I would get dressed, like I would worry that there'd be like shadow, like beard shadow, even though I can get such I especially now, like I went through trying like every razor and all these debilatories, and like I was like, I need to have the smoothest face of all faces, and I've definitely can like I have shaving down like perfect. However, there was a time where I was just like feeling like, no, but I can see shadow. I can see shadow. And I was like, do I need to get laser on my face? Like, I know I can see shadow, like da 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 da. And it was like, so yeah, I had like a minute there of like hard dysphoria but then it just calibrated out. And I just think just going through the world helps it calibrate out, because two things happen. One, thinking that I had shadow coming through, I changed my color corrector from pink to orange, which then gave me like yellow undertones and looked really stupid. And I was like, oh, okay, I actually did look okay. And the other thing is that I realized if I want to, I can see beard shadow on literally any person in any movie at any time, no matter what their gender is. So like, so probably that's just in my head. And when I ask my friend, who I said was like a mentor, like she'll always shoot me straight, and I have asked her privately about every time I've seen her about that, and every time she's been like, yeah, there's no shadow. So it just took a minute for me to just accept that. But yeah, I feel like I'm not so dysphoric, but just had a minute of it.
Yeah. Well, you sound better, so sound like you know what you're doing now. Are you a pro? Yeah. Are you pro makeup and stuff now then, or is it still like a work in progress?
No, I mean I've been pretty good with makeup for a while, but I have my own process for it that I've got down to a science.
You know, I love writers' processes. What's your process for makeup?
Oh, it's basic. It's just color. I do pink color corrector, and then I do it's Mac's, or wait, is it Mac? Is it Mac, or I think it's Mac full coverage foundation. And then I'll sometimes add more. I'll add like a liquid foundation on top of that, and powder, no matter what. The only variable is that liquid foundation. Sometimes I'll use it, sometimes I won't. Just depends. Depends on like how long I think I'm going to be out and whatever. And then and then just I do eye makeup. That's like where all my attention to detail goes. And then like lips and blush. And I hate blush, but I still do it. But yeah, it's pretty basic. Well, I'll color in my eyebrows, which I keep generally thin and arched.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you a heavy spender on clothes and makeup and whatnot then, or are you like minimal with all the shit that you have?
Well, I run my store basically so that I can just buy everything I want all the time and sell what I don't want.
Nice.
So
what is your store? You keep talking about this store. What is this store, girl?
Yeah.
Or they? Do you care what I call it? They?
Yeah, I don't care. The store is called Inconstant Avatar, and it goes through the eBay platform, but I've been doing it since 2013, and you can go, if you go to inconstantavatar.com, that'll take you right to it. And actually, okay, this is like, I hear people do this shit on like podcasts and radio shows all the time. They have a way now that you can make a coupon. So I could actually like make a coupon code that people listening could put in and like get a discount if you were open to that. So
yes,
yeah, I guess on I guess we'll just say the coupon code is CrossYaas CrossYaas 2021, just in case.
Nice.
And they can just type that in at the thing, like CrossYaas. Is that right? It's 2 A's?
Correct. Yes, okay. 2 A's.
So CrossYaas 2021. I'll when we get done here, I'll go in and like set it up. Or I guess I'll have to set it up whenever this is airing. So I'll do it down the road.
Sure.
But I'll write that down so I remember the coupon code. Anyway, I feel like I'm kind of living every dream that I've ever aspired to. I finally like hit it. And that's definitely like one that I had as a child, was to have a place where I had all the clothes and could just put on clothes left and right and change the way I look. And that was like a huge dream since like single digit numbers. And now I've like actually got a way to do that, and I'm actively doing that. So yeah, it's literally what I said. I go out into the world and I buy lots of stuff and bring it back and pick out what I don't just buy what I like. I also buy what I know I can sell but don't like. But I'll definitely sort through all of it and pick out the things that I do like. And if they speak to me and then they can pass the final hurdle of being tried on and I still like them okay, then they are mine. And I still have 90 other things that I can put up there and make money off of.
Nice. So is it mostly just clothes and all this other stuff for your store? Yes.
Yeah, it's clothing. Yeah, it's pretty much exclusively clothing. I garden too, so I was selling like loofahs for a while. I'll come across like rando things sometimes I'll throw up there, but for the most part it's clothing. I'm real big on wigs. Like I love buying out wig stores because they're like furniture stores in that they're like constantly going out of business but not really going out of business. And so you can just I don't say want to give away trade secrets. I don't want to make people competitors, but there's always a wig store closing somewhere that is willing to like part with everything for cheap.
Do you hate selling something, or do you love certain things you sell, or I don't know?
That's a whole other thing. I'm trying to connect this back to what I said earlier about like, I guess we were talking about fetishization about inanimate objects. Just because they don't have biological functions doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have souls. So I get very, very attached to things that serve as memories for me. I'm not to the point of being a hoarder, but I am to the point of like, I do not want any gifts. I will not take gifts. I don't want anything else in my house. I'm only buying things that I have no memory with, like no special moment with, that I know I can get rid of down the road. Clothing, like it's the one thing that I have zero attachment to. So that's what makes it easy for me to like work with, is because I can take it in and push it back out, and there is no sentimental value. Even if I like the way it looks and it's the greatest shirt, and even if I have had memories in it, if it doesn't fit, then it's time to go.
Fascinating. And what made you just deal with the store? Like, what made you come up with the idea? You're just like, I have a lot of shit here. I should probably get rid of it. Or it's like a weird way to purge too, I guess. If that is the thing.
Well, I do not purge. Yeah, I will never purge. If I'm not selling it and making there will never be a purge. I don't feel that shame to purge ever.
Good.
But what was the actual question though? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, what made you come up with the store? Like,
so when eBay first started back in the 90s, like. Yeah, okay. So I initially got into eBay because I could buy wigs there. Because like when I, as a kid, I had like a mom and a sister, so there was like feminine clothing around that I could use, but like wigs were a foreign, like special mystical thing to me. And like I remember I bought like the first wig I ever bought was like from like Party City or one of like some store like that, and it's just like some bullshit. And when eBay came along and it was like, wow, you can actually buy like wigs on here that are like real wigs that aren't just like some cheap $5 Walmart costume. Then I was like buying wigs, and then like I don't remember when eBay started. I would have had to have had an income to do that.
Probably the 90s, probably mid 90s, right?
Well, I've been working since I was like 16. So somewhere in there, I was buying wigs, and then that's when I started like selling them as well. It was like that far back, and I realized that I could like buy and sell in the same platform and make money. But I didn't stick with it because there was just so many other things going on. I would just kind of like casually sell here and there, just if I wanted to get rid of things. But as time went on, I saw more and more value in it from like the smaller sales, that I was making. And I've got a friend who basically runs an all vintage eBay shop, and he like really like helped mentor me on that and show me like
nice
how it works, like how you make it profitable, like what you have to do, like to like the mindset you basically have to take. And yeah, and so 2013, I was like, well, I'm just gonna do this constantly now, and have not looked back since.
Jeez. So you're like a cajillionaire now? Is that how it works?
Oh, no. No. It's a one person show as well. I have like hired people in the past, but it's changed it's what I use it for. Right now it's like my main thing, because like main income, because I'm trying to just exist how I am and move forward without having to like work for somebody else, and I don't have to worry about the mortgage and all that. But it has back then, like, okay, so when I started in 2013, I was working a regular job and then coming home and doing that every night, all night, building it up. And then that also was like what I used to help get my mortgage paid off. So because I was making about an extra $1,000 a month off of that. But then once I had the money to pay off the mortgage, I like stepped it back, and I was basically not buying new inventory, but just shipping out old inventory. And then that's when I like quit my job, got a new job, wasn't as like money hungry. So I just kind of like let it go. Like a lot of my inventory got depleted in that time period. And then I got sick. And so now I'm like being able to reevaluate. I'm back like hitting it hard again. And regrowing it. But for a time, it was just kind of this thing I had spinning in the background for that I could like ramp up if I didn't have any other money coming in. And now I'm just kind of like getting the base of what I need out of it, while also giving my time to like work on the current book that I'm writing and the website that I'm building and all these other things.
Yeah, you're a machine. You're doing so many things.
Yeah, that's in my nature. I have always been. Yeah, I've got albums. I've got another book I've already written. Like I'm always have to have like,
oh my gosh,
something I'm taking to the end.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, there's so much more to talk about, but unfortunately, I do have to go soon because I'm exhausted.
All right.
But I don't know if you've listened to the the episodes and stuff, but
yeah,
I always end with the question: in a perfect world of cross-dressing, sexuality, and gender, Arris, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, it's the answer that everybody pretty much gives, which is that ideally it just doesn't matter, that people can dress however they want to dress and wear whatever they want to wear, and there's no judgment cast upon them. And honestly, like just the breaking down of like, this is for boys and this is for girls, I think would be a very positive thing to see. In general, that's my whole existence is dedicated to the idea of breaking down all the binaries, which I think as we evolve as a species, that's what we are doing anyway. And I think that we're probably in the middle of maybe breaking down the gender binary. So yeah, I think that we just need to keep trucking and turn the gender binary into a spectrum. And then once we get that out of the way, move on to life and death, which is the next one.
Yes. Arris, thank you so much. You already gave a shout out to Inconstant Avatar. Is there any other shout outs you want to give to any of your other social media handles or anything like that?
Well, I would like to mention my book that people can buy, but then I'm putting my absolute name like first, and like it'd be very easy to dox me. So I don't know if I don't know what the audience is. I don't know if I want to put my like first and last name out there quite yet, because I know how things are locally for me, but out in the larger world of shittiness, I'm gonna be a little careful for now. Yeah. But if anyone comes on the Discord and wants to ask me, I'll gladly tell them. And I'm going to have the book free on Kindle probably when this airs, so people can just...
Oh, yay. Well, there you go. People join the Discord if you want to hear more from Arris. And what's your Discord handle, Arris, so people can find you?
Oh, are you... I don't... Oh, it's Inconstant Avatar with some numbers after it.
Yay.
Yeah,
some numbers. They can find you if you join the CrossYaas Podcast,
which is a fantastic outlet, by the way.
Oh, yeah. What did you think about it? How'd you feel about joining?
It's so, yeah, I compare it to, or the only thing I have to compare it to is like Facebook groups that are along the same topical lines, and those are trash by comparison. I think that they're like, it's the Discord server is like very well organized, so you don't have like the same 5 people that you don't know showing up 30 times a day with their personal pictures on your feed. You can choose what you want to see. But also it's like just a good, like, supportive community. I think that like people that are there, I guess, found it for a reason. Anybody can just get on Facebook and join a group and be shitty, but like, yeah, I guess the Discord chat feels a little more exclusive, and I think people like value being there a little more maybe. It's definitely like a supportive environment and just like an generally enjoyable environment, even if it's not even on topics that don't have anything to do with like transgender or anything. It's just kind of like a chill place to be.
Yes, that's a pretty good description. Yeah, and I'm there, you're there, a lot of other people are there.
Yeah.
Just hang out. Yes. Well, Arris, thank you so much. Happy to have you here. We got you on here. Pretty short notice too. It's like, hey, you want to talk tomorrow?
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah, I'm glad.
okay.
I'm glad it worked out for real, for sure.
Yes. Well, if you need anything, let me know. I'll email you a edited version. I'll try and piece something together, and hopefully it'll be up by. I'll have something by next week to send to you.
Yeah. No hurries. No worries. I just hope that it's not too scattered and giving you like problems to work with.
I'll find something to work with. All right, girl.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not hung up on it either way.
Okay. All right, Arris. Well, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
And finally, the miscellany.
Yes!
And that was my Curi YAAS conversation with Arris. What a story on Arris, right? From last week's episode to this one, it was a pleasure to have Arris on. You could tell Arris is very passionate about this stuff, and probably a lot of other stuff as well. And Arris is just so well-spoken, it's kind of annoying. Not bothersome annoying, but more so that Arris has passion when they get into something. Like, really get into something. And you can kind of tell just how passionate Arris is when they talked about fetishes, as well as the inconstant avatar store. When I was listening to Arris go off on fetishes, it's pretty cool to hear, because I guess there is a weird connotation to cross-dressing as it relates to fetishes, but also just fetishes in general. Like, I agree with Arris, as you can fetish size almost anything. And well, Arris spoke up about it, almost defended it in a sense, and I fucking loved it. Arris also talked about their store, inconstantavatar.com, which if you buy on Arris's Inconstant Avatar store today, and I honestly don't know how long the coupon code will last, probably till 2021, who knows, but use the coupon code CrossYaas 2021, that's spelled CROSSYAAS 2021, that's CROSSYAAS 2021, and you'll get a little discount courtesy of the CrossYaas Podcast. You can find all sorts of stuff there to buy, so go on that website and check it out. But I'm absolutely grateful for Arris to come on the podcast and share what is truly a unique story of their own. You're going to really have to try to find someone who has a unique story like Arris, and maybe that's what I'm doing when I'm asking you, the CrossYaas listener, to come on the podcast to tell your story. If you haven't already, of course. You know you have your own unique story just like Arris, so come on the podcast and share it. Email me, Giselle at CrossYaasPodcast.com, DM me on Instagram at CrossYaas Podcast, or let's chat on Discord and see what's up. But that's all for this episode. Remember, when it comes to your cross-dressing, sexuality, and or gender, no one cares. Well, as much as you do. So do whatever you want, wear whatever you want, and be whoever you want, within reason. Because as long as you're not hurting anyone with your cross-dressing, sexuality, and or gender presentation, why does it matter? Live your life to the fullest, authentically, and on your terms, because life's way too short not to. Be kind to yourself and one another, and try to live your life with balance and without regret. I hope you, the CrossYaas listener, realize that you are loved by me and this podcast. So please let me know what you need so I can help you succeed. And another friendly reminder, if you enjoyed what you heard this week, remember to share this episode and the CrossYaas podcast with someone else. because if you found any of what you just heard helpful, imagine what this podcast could do for someone else. But that's all for this week's episode, and until next time, as always, keep it fresh, stay blessed, and remember, you're gorgeous.